Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Welcome to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast, brought to you by Revival Recordings.
Hello, and welcome back to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast, brought to you by Revival Recordings. This is episode 4. We had a little change of plans for this week's episode and the topics we're discussing. Hopefully, what we did have planned will eventually come up, but...
And it'll still be March themed, allegedly, supposedly, but it might not be March anymore. We'll see.
That's okay. Well,
it's fine.
Just go with the flow over here. This week's episode, we do have a guest, though. We have Kaci, who works at Revival with us. And I want to say hi to Kaci. Kaci, you want to explain what you do at Revival?
Yes. So I do A&R at Revival. I've been on the marketing team, the social media team, a little bit of everything team, but sticking with A&R for now. Also on the side, I do digital marketing for tours, so just love music, being in the biz, you know.
Yep, she always leaves Revival and comes back to us.
Comes right back.
She's being a little bit humble. It's not something she does on the side. She actually has a very
It's my full time. It's my full time.
Technically, we're the side, but that's fine.
Yeah, you know, it's
we'll be the side. We'll be the side chick. It's fine.
But our topics today kind of fit with Kaci's job of tour marketing, because we're going to go over some news topics that are all centered around live music for the most part.
Yes. And then go into a little more discussion about festivals, shows, do's and don'ts kind of discussion, and go from there and see where we ramble on to today.
Yeah, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants today, so
you never know where it goes.
Definitely more of a conversation, definitely a little more improvised, but that's showbiz, baby.
So this past weekend, Pierce the Veil did a pop-up show in LA for their album release, and we haven't heard great things.
Yes.
Amanda's going to give us a little summary of what went down in LA this weekend.
So all of this information is from a TikToker named Girl Y, I think. I'm so sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. I'll put it on the screen somewhere when I'm editing. It's spelled a different way. All of this information is from them. They held a pop-up event that they announced 3 days ahead of time, which people are complaining about this detail, but I don't think it's that big of a deal, because it is, at the end of the day, a pop-up event. That's what it does. It's a surprise. It pops up. Not the point. 3 days ahead of time, they announced that they're having a pop-up event in Glendale, which, is that the same place as...
Yeah, it's right outside of LA.
Gotcha. I know nothing about the geography.
Yeah. It's you can call it LA.
Anyway, it was a free event from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. 11 a.m. to 5 p.m., totally open to the public. They said they were going to do an acoustic performance, free gifts, free merch while supplies last. People camped out. People waited all day. People literally waited in the street, apparently. Lines were around the blocks.
Yes, they do.
Lines were around the block, going through crosswalks. People were almost getting hit by cars, allegedly. The venue was a 300 cap indoor venue, which is not what people were expecting. I Googled the address on the flyer, and it showed up as a studio space or something. So I couldn't confirm if 300 cap was the actual capacity of the venue on paper, but that was not mentioned in what they posted 3 days prior, and people are very upset about that.
I'm
3,000.
getting Nick and Nora's infinite playlist. Like, you know how like they go off and they try to find that band in like the really small cap venue? Like that's what I'm getting from this right now.
See, other people were saying they were getting TanaCon from it. And if you know that little piece of internet lore, well,
it's a bad comparison to have.
I'm hearing Tana and then I just zoned out. Sorry.
That is, if you don't, it's, yeah, you can explain.
Sorry. I was going to say, regarding the sound space, since you said that, LA and like a lot of the radio stations around there, I mean, probably do it in other cities too. I know K-Rock does it a lot. I won tickets once, or actually twice. One of them I had COVID and couldn't go, but I won tickets to see Angels and Airwaves, and they're all in like sound space studios like that, and they're small capacity things, but you win tickets, so it's not, just open.
So it's more normal out there then for that to happen.
Yeah, what you're describing is probably one of those.
But these radio things, people win tickets, like it's
like so it's not just open. You got to go and win them.
So
but I'm just saying, venue wise, I can picture what you're talking about, and it's not for a lot of people at all.
Well, 3,000 people showed up, and that's at least what this TikTok said, is 3,000 people showed up. People camped overnight. People that were waiting as early as 8 a.m. did not get in. Unsafe line through crosswalks, I already said that. Pierce the Veil played one set at 1 p.m. and left immediately after, which is not on them, I don't think. They were allegedly intending to meet the line, but they only had 2 security guards with them, and the crowd rushed them. And allegedly a girl got trampled. So
this is giving...
sorry.
Holy shit.
I feel
disaster.
This is... Well, I think that with good intention, but planning wise, it's just a mess.
Yeah, like who planned that? That to only say that they're going to be. I mean, I understand going to a 300 cap is really amazing and fun, and to see a band that big now, it would in a 300 cap venue would be amazing. But to not plan that better, and to also just expect like a few people to show up. That's
also, and I think that with the pop. Go ahead.
I was gonna say with the pop up being only announced 3 days before, that's probably their idea, it wasn't going to be as many people. But I do think when you do pop-ups like that, especially in cities like LA, or if it was New York or something like that, people are going to show up.
Yeah, you can't
even
do that
3
in
days
LA.
is a lot of advance for someone to be like, all right, I'm going to go take the day off of work. Or I think it was it on a Friday or Saturday? I think it was on a Saturday.
Southwest has a great deal on tickets right now. So, I mean, I would have popped over there too.
That's what I'm saying. It does give people enough time. It's not like, and there are times in LA, especially when I lived out there, that like shows would be announced like day of, and you could only get tickets in person at the box office, like at the Whiskey and places like that you had to go line up, and immediately people would be there. Like,
Casey, didn't you just go to a Fall Out Boy show that was really tiny too?
Yeah, it was like a super small show. It was I think the week before they announced the tour. They played at the Metro. It's like a well-known venue out in Chicago, and it was crazy. But again, you had to have tickets ahead of time. There were no tickets sold there, no electronic tickets. It was all box office. They also did giveaways on the radio every hour for like 2 days leading up to it. So a bunch of people, pretty much everybody got their tickets that way, but it was insane.
Well, I want to point out a couple things here. So there's a band the size of Fall Out Boy where they're doing some kind of monitored tickets, win tickets, some sort of thing like that. And then on the other side of it, Real Friends also just did a pop-up in, I think, Chicago. And I don't know how
Real Friends isn't Pierce the Veil.
Well, hold on. Real Friends did this pop-up. I don't know if it was managed with tickets or anything, but a band like Pierce the Veil that blew up pretty recently on TikTok, where I'm sure a lot of older people who are putting these events on, or that might be a wrong way to put it, but people who are older than the TikTok crowd who are working at these events aren't anticipating these crowds to show up because these kids came up in the pandemic and no one, like, they kind of came out of not literally came out of nowhere, but I don't think anybody expected things to go down the way that they did. So
I
I
think
can
that's
kind of
super naive
understand.
to not expect that.
Mm-hmm.
It is naive, but I could see
did Pierce
why
the Veil
someone
make any kind of statement
not that I've
afterwards?
seen, no. Because the people that did
internet.
get in, the people that did get in all were like enamored and seemed to have a really wonderful time. But the people that did not get in are understandably upset. And it is naive to not think, right. It is naive to not think that this crowd would show up, but I could understand how someone might not be in on the TikTok crowd and could kind of drop the ball on that.
And
yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's go ahead.
Go ahead, Haley. You haven't talked.
I was gonna say for me, it's like I understand the reasoning behind doing it. Like obviously, that's a cool thing. It's a good thing for them to do. It's a free thing, and they're promoting their new album. So what's better than free publicity, right? But on the other hand, when you have these things and they're not properly done, it sometimes leads to more hurtful press than helpful press. And I don't want it to be that way for them, but I mean, it seems like outside of the people that got in that had a great time, that it seems like more people were hurt by by it than helped them.
I just did a little quick thing of socials, and I don't see anything from them specifically.
Because at the same time, it doesn't seem like a lot of people are talking about it, because in the grand scheme of things, 3,000 people is not, compared to the amount of people on the internet talking about Pierce the Veil, isn't that big of a number.
That's true.
But
have we seen other people besides this one TikToker say anything about it? Like, is it like an overwhelming, like, okay, yes, this is like what happened, or is it like...
Right. I saw more negative videos than positive videos. If you search Pierce the Veil, pop up Glendale on TikTok, it's mostly negative videos except for the people that got in. Even the people that not necessarily got hurt, they were just kind of, annoyed that, like, I waited in line for 5 hours and saw the back of Vic's head for 2 seconds and that was it. People were really expecting them to do like a full meet and greet thing, and it just didn't go that way.
And it did sound like that was what it was going to be. And then also, when you have it's open and you're in their time. So I'm sure like some people didn't sit there for 6 hours in there and wait. And like if people left, more could go in. But there are a lot of those people probably did spend the majority of the time in there. So nobody's like, it's not like in and out walking through something and you're done, or an interactive like photo thing and then you leave and the line keeps going. It's like at some point the line's just going to halt.
Let me ask you guys this. What do you think Pierce the Veil should make a statement about it? I know Courtney said you didn't think they would, but do you think they should?
Only if someone got seriously hurt, I think, because from the sounds of it, like the person whose TikTok I got all the information from, they said they're very lucky that someone with ill intentions did not show up to this, because they were not checking for weapons, they were not managing the line.
See, I don't like that.
But
it's such a hard thing.
Thank God nothing awful happened, so I don't...
Right.
I think that's with everything now, though. Like, it's kind of just like, all right, well, it's good that no one came to the bar. Like, it's just...
Oh, I don't think they should make... Maybe not like a statement is the right word, but at least address it. If you set up expectations for your fans, for this to be like a collaborative event, we're going to come hang out, we're going to meet you. That's kind of how Real Friends did it. They were very clear. We're going to hang out. We're going to meet your dogs, like all of that, which is awesome. And I didn't hear anything bad about that one, so I'm kind of glad.
I didn't hear anything bad about that one either. I also just think the only way they could have, aside from the obvious like venue security, at the end of the day, they should have just made it like a win tickets thing, and that would have solved everything.
I think it's hard sometimes, especially when it comes between like bands and like things that maybe the bands don't have full control over. Like where's the line where what onus does the band have for these things happening and going wrong and needing to make a statement or addressing what happened and stuff, and when they don't, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think that they're at fault, and they probably knew nothing. Again, we were just talking about before we started recording how there's so much that like as a team on the label we don't know until the day it's happening for some reason. I'm sure the band had nothing to do with the planning or anything, but at the end of the day their name is on it. So
there's a lot of moving pieces that go into things like this where it's, you know.
I'm just shocked that there wasn't more security. I'm thinking about that and I'm kind of stuck on it. I'm like, why?
They only had 2 like security guards themselves. Like, that's insane.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised. I'm sure they didn't know what they were walking into. But this leads to a bigger conversation about safety at shows and etiquette at shows.
Yes.
Which has changed greatly over the last few years.
Yeah, it has.
I think like it really, like pre-pandemic and post-pandemic, which we've mentioned, like a lot of things in the music have changed, and I think one of those things is very much etiquette at shows, what's going on, like how people approach it. So before we started recording, I was telling the girls, like, I went to a show last night and where the demographic was like a little younger. Definitely it was for Nessa Barrett. So if you think of like all the people found her on TikTok, so it's a lot of like high school, early 20s, even younger than that. There were people there with their parents and stuff, younger kids. And she had to stop her singing like 4 or 5 times, like outwardly be like, stop, and tell the security to go help people. And it wasn't because of like, you know, or well, from the TikToks I saw, it was just a lot of like drunk messiness going on, like type of stuff, a lot of pushing. And then on top of that, I was telling them just the difference in shows of like that generational, how every single phone in that venue was up the entire time. And I'm sitting there and I'm 30 and I'm just sitting there enjoying the music. And not to say I've never recorded a person on the stage, but like just for a whole set to like see that is like insane compared to.
Yeah, it's different from just your favorite song, getting some photos versus I'm recording the whole thing. Like, I'm 5'3". I can't really see that well at shows anyway. And when there's people in front of me and all I see is their screen, it's like, why am I here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
Like I feel like a boomer when I say it, but
I know, and I think it is like the generational like TikTok blow up, like everything on social media. Like all of us put all of our stuff on social media. We're not bashing that, but it's just the idea that like sit there and enjoy the music, please.
Well, I think there's just so much, especially specifically talking about the pop-up and events like that with these younger crowds coming out. Like, I went to see the Wonder Years last week, which I'll talk about later when we talk about the best shows we've seen. But when I went to see the Wonder Years, it was all the crowd. I'd say the crowd for the Wonder Years, it's not that they're like older, but they're definitely all in their 20s. It's not like a bunch of young TikTok kids versus like
I would experienced at shows maybe. Like they've been through it.
Yeah, versus... but like okay, given maybe maybe I'm being a little naive with this, but like I don't think I acted like that when I was going to shows when I was like 12 or 13.
So it's not even a behavior thing. Well, I mean, it is a behavior thing. I don't know why I said it like that, but it's the behavior with this new crowd and the way that these venues and events aren't prepared for it. It's just like a perfect storm of something going wrong. Like that Wonder Year show was really cool. The crowd was really cool. People were picking each other up. There was nothing negative happening, but I am terrified to go to like a Pierce the Veil show or like one of these other artists that blew up on TikTok shows because, and now there's like moshing discourse. People get in fights on Twitter about moshing and how crowd surfing is assault, and there's just so many parts to it.
What?
There's a lot of... yeah,
it's amazing.
It's definitely a different vibe, just between shows, and I think it has a lot to do with demographic, like who age range that's there. Which I hate saying it. We're all like, oh, it makes me feel old to be like, behave at shows, but like, just freaking behave at shows, like.
And it's not to say. If we're going into this conversation, it's not like we have a set list of things to do or not do. So, but if we had to name some off the dome, what do you think they should be?
You know,
Don't
just
record
give
the
people
whole
their
fucking show.
Yeah, don't record the whole show. Give
Please,
people
I
a
wanna
little bit
see.
of space.
Yeah.
So,
you're not getting space at shows. Let's be real.
Well, I don't necessarily mean that, but like pushing and stuff, I guess is, I guess that was from TikTok. I was reading some of the people that were downstairs in that area that posted videos about how she had to stop the show. And it was a lot of like, oh, there were people shoving through. And it's like, everybody, you know, just like.
Yeah.
But there's that, and then there's the shows that like, there's the shows that Ian and I grew up going to, and probably Kaci, that are like, people pushed to the front. All that was just part of it. People, and I'm sure
part of
it was a different genre of music and a different kind of crowd, but that's just always been a thing. And there, of course, there's a couple people who are upset about it, but no one's starting like fucking movements on the internet about it.
I remember going to a Bring Me the Horizon show in Providence, Rhode Island, back when they had just come out with Suicide Season, and my ex-boyfriend got punched in the face so hard that he lost 6 teeth.
At once? In one punch?
I don't know exactly how it
There's some
happened,
power
but
to it.
it was like his like 2 front ones and like a few bottom ones, and then like I don't know what he was doing, but he somehow and it wasn't like I mean, like I was like, oh my god, prom is in like 2 weeks, let's get this fixed. But he was like, oh well, you know, they didn't help me out, I had to like push my way out. But it wasn't like he was like, I had to push my way out. It was like, yeah, I had to push my way out to get to the ambulance so I could like, you know, figure out what was going on with my face. But like
God.
that, I mean, it's not acceptable obviously to lose teeth at a show, but I mean, it wasn't like he was like, find the people who did it and let's bring them down. It was like, no, like, okay, I got punched in the face at a show, like, let's rock on. I don't know.
There's right. I think, I don't know, it's so hard to gauge with, because all the artists that we're talking about too are all like infinitely bigger than they were when we were seeing them as well.
Yeah.
And
that is true.
There's been festivals and shows in the past like Astro World. There's a difference between someone pushing their way to the front at a show at like, you know, a metal show or a pop punk show versus getting trampled by a crowd there was no crowd control.
Yeah, that's awful. Yeah.
That's still so insane to me, even the videos of that, just like, because at one point they just gave up and everybody was just breaking down the fences and getting into the venue. Like, there wasn't even security to get into the venue. Like, at that point, that's just still so insane to me that wasn't like stopped at some point. But
yeah, I mean, at this, like, I've never been one to push my way to the front, and it's exactly why I've never been that person, because I am, for lack of better terms, like to control my environment as much as I can, and so I don't like being on top of each other. I don't like being like sardines I need my space. So I've never been the one that pushes to the front or wants to be at the front of a show. And, you know, the stuff like Astro World and all these other things, it just makes me, it's sad, because automatically when you think of these people that are getting trampled or stuff like that, you think, like, my mind goes not to concerts, but it goes to like people trying to get away from like a big like natural disaster or tragedy. Those things happen during those things, and this is a concert people come to enjoy, and it's kind of like, I'm not saying it's anybody's fault that's in the crowd that's not having the crowd control and stuff, but it's kind of like I'm sure there were people there that tried to stop, tried to do something. But unfortunately, it's just, when you're in that big of a crowd, your voice is very small in a loud environment.
Oh yeah.
So it can be scary. I mean, it definitely piques anxiety when you're, at least for me, when I'm planning to go to these things.
I was gonna say, even when I was at the Fall Out Boy secret show, like at the beginning, I was feeling super anxious because it was again a small venue for a huge band. even my friend, she left halfway through Fall Out Boy sex. She's like the crowd surfers are hitting me. Like it's fine. I'm not mad about it, but like this is really getting me anxious. I feel like I'm like claustrophobic. And she had to get out, and I was like, I'm gonna stay. And luckily, I got up pretty close, just with the way the crowd is moving. But there was even a girl next to me who was like I'm just like in my spot, you know, chilling, like bobbing my head, having a great time. And this girl is trying to like push me out of the way. I'm like, honey, I got here. You gotta wait. Don't try to get in my space right now. But
also,
it's like that too.
It's worth noting that your friend was able to get out, though. That's the point. Is that if you feel
very
unsafe,
lucky that she was able to easily get out.
Yeah.
There's also those people that are like aggressive crowd surfers too. Like, you know, like the guys that will like, they'll come from like what you think is like the back of the venue, and suddenly they're like literally on top of people, and like then they're crowd surfing to get to the mic and whatever. Like that's like a whole different story too. That's like an extreme way.
I saw a TikTok video today, just speaking of this, and the people in the video did not seem upset, and I don't want to sound like a Karen. I didn't say anything on the video, but it was a dude crowd surfing in a Speedo, and that made me uncomfortable.
No, thank you.
I do think if you're going to crowd surf, you should be fully clothed, because then it gets a little weird. Please. I did crowd surf for the first time in about 8 years at that Wonder Years show. And I don't think I hurt anybody. I was right side up the whole time. I did not fall. And it was peak confidence for me. But, you know, there's a way to do it.
I'm very much like Haley, just like, I think it's also just because I'm so short, that I'd rather stand like all the way back because I actually get like a better view. Like that's not all the people pushed up. And also, I have way too much anxiety. I can't be like in that space. And like, I'll go to shows with friends and I'm like, if you want to be, go ahead, go up there. I'm going to be right here. You can find me right here when it's all done. This could be our meeting spot. But like, I just can't like, just so many things could happen that I'm like, but that's you know, the anxiety in me. So
when I was a kid, like ages, like I remember the first time I crowd surfed, I think was either Bamboozle or Warped Tour. Either way, it was one of those festivals that my cousin Kyle took me to when my mom didn't want to take me. Shout out Kyle. He was my concert buddy for a very long time, and he taught me how to crowd surf. Yeah, I think it was actually to Paramore. That was the first time I crowd surfed, was to Paramore. And I also, as you were talking, had a very vivid flashback to the time I saw Alisana play when I was like 18 and crowd surfed and ended up on the stage and couldn't figure out how to get off, and Dennis had to push me off. This
is pre Amanda being a revival, so she's just
right. This is like pre revival existing. Yeah, literally the Mr. Krabs meme. It was pre revival existing even, and I will never be able to find these photos because I think the person since deleted their Facebook page, but someone got like a series of photos of him pushing me off the stage. And now I see kids get on the stage and not know how to get off all the time. There's the kids who get on the stage and then won't get off. That's a different thing.
Yeah. Bad etiquette.
Don't do that either.
That's a bad etiquette.
I've seen that a lot recently on TikTok too.
Yeah, people are trying to get the set list. They're trying to get their moment. They're trying to get that social media
people
video.
In getting a set list.
Yeah,
it is like war. Like long gone are the days where you just stand there and you're like, you know, after the band is done, like, hey, can I grab a set list? Yeah. Now it's like, get out of my fucking way. I will fight you to get the set list. Like, I can't do that. I'm happy not getting it. I'll take a picture of it.
When I was at the Bush show a couple weeks ago, the drummer threw like the sticks in, and there were like, and we were up again, sitting upstairs so I could see over the crowd, and he threw them in, and like these two guys got like older guys aggressive over it, and the guy literally yanked it out of the other guy's hand, and I was just like, you're doing too much. Like, you're doing too much. Like,
well, for me, I'm like, there's two. Why don't one of you guys get but one each?
And I'm like, it's cool to have, but like, chill out. Like, right. You don't need to brawl over a drumstick.
I can't decide if I should leave that Dennis story in or not, because I don't want it to sound like he like maliciously pushed me off the stage. It wasn't malicious at all. It was definitely just an encouraging.
It wasn't like Parker Cannon at Warped Tour that
No,
one year, right? Where he
it
like,
wasn't like that.
drop
It was
kicks.
a very gentle, like, oh, this girl is having trouble jumping back into the crowd. Let me gently send her off. He was not being rude.
Just keep this part in, and then you're good.
But long story short,
don't worry, Dennis. We will not get you canceled.
If you get onto the stage, don't overstay your welcome. Have your moment and then get the fuck out. That's all.
I'm trying to think of what else, like, at shows that really just, like, gets to me, where I'm like, don't do that.
Wear deodorant. Don't go to a concert without deodorant on, or I will fight you on spot. Trial by combat.
Especially if you're gonna be in the pit.
Get out.
Yeah.
You are stinky and smelly, and I don't like it. Goodbye.
I wonder why people smell like sausage at concerts.
Ew.
Oh my God. Like, everybody smells like sausage.
Maybe it's a Chicago thing.
I must not get close to people because I don't know. I don't ever smell somebody smells like sausage.
Me and Haley are in the back, like, we don't have that problem.
No problem there.
Sausage.
No, Courtney and I went to a show in Boston a few weeks ago, and I was like,
oh yeah, there was
some stinky, smelly people.
Smelly people going on.
I did not appreciate it. I went there for a good smelling time, and I did not get that. So
I can't help but think that's the wrong place for a good smelling time.
Maybe like a medium smelling time.
I think
a non-offensive smelling time.
I'm thinking of that show and just like
what a disaster.
Certain
that
genre,
was.
like that was more harder music. But I think also people have to realize like what shows you're going to and being prepared, because like I know if I'm going to a hardcore show, at some point a pit's gonna open and I don't want to be anywhere near it to be kicked in the face. And so literally the second it started,
she was at the bar.
Freaking backed up. I was like, I'm good.
At the bar,
over
just
here.
like
I was at the bar, like God. E is still over there. I'm like waving to her. I'm like, I'm gonna stand over here because I'm gonna get taken out.
I
like,
just picture you like my mother. Go ahead, go have fun. I'll be over here. Go ahead.
Literally, that's me at shows to my friends.
I'll just
like,
be here listening to my tune.
The death metal.
It's like when your mom like waits in the car. Yep, like okay, I'll pick you up.
I can't talk about moms at shows without mentioning that my mom did take me to a lot of shows and sat outside and waited, and she was a very good sport for many years. I cannot let this conversation go without mentioning that.
Another shout out to Amanda's
the
mom.
New England moms who were like, or well, I guess technically you aren't, you're tri-state, but you know what I mean. Like, shout out to the moms who literally
Amanda,
were like,
didn't I meet your mom?
Yeah,
Wasn't
you
she
did.
at that Alisana
She was at
show?
the New York show because she's a good sport. Yeah. She doesn't listen to Alisana. She is. I don't want to embarrass her, but she's afraid of that music. And she sat there, she watched the show, and she told them they did a good job. She was very supportive.
My favorite thing of the show last night is me and Brandon were standing next to this dad, and he must have been with his two daughters, and they were like maybe like 10. And he's there singing every word to every Nessa Barrett song with them, jamming out, having the time of his life with his kids. And I was like, I love that. Like, it just made me so happy to see that, because I'm like, you think this man is going to go listen to Nessa Barrett or know who she is without his kids? No, but got really into it. And they were having so much fun. I was like, that is what I love to see. Like, they were living. And I was like, it reminds me of like my dad bringing me to freaking Hillary Duff, okay? And having to sit there through that. So I'm like, yes,
fun, kids. I'll just be here listening to my tunes. No.
But back to what I was saying, like at that show, I'm very aware at some point, like, and that was like intense moshing, like people cycloning over there, like in the pit, like. And then throw a kick in, like lots of kicking. And so I'm like, that's not my vibe. So if you're gonna go to a show like that, you can't complain when it happens. Like, you just need to be aware. And if you don't want to be in that, step on the outskirts. Like, be aware.
To go off of that point, though, not that Pierce the Veil is like a heavy band, But back in the day when I saw Pierce the Veil, they were a band that would have mosh pits during their sets. They probably weren't the most intense mosh pits, but they were probably intense enough for the kids that call crowd surfing assault to consider them intense mosh pits. So
when Ollie Sykes literally says, "Open the fucking pit," and you don't want to be in the pit, move. like you're being warned. Like shows like that.
Just to be devil's advocate, if you are in the pit, like you are in the depths of the pit, and you don't expect anything like that to happen, I just don't think that that's realistic. You know, like you go in there with the mentality of like, okay, I'm probably gonna get smushed at some point to like, you know, some capacity, and also like you're probably gonna end up near a pit, and you're gonna have to deal with that. So I just feel like you need to prepare, or like just at least know in your head that that's going to be a possibility.
I grew up with the phrase, if you don't want to get hit, get out the pit. Simple.
I always take a bodyguard, whether it's my dad or Andrew. I'm like, I'm staying in my spot, so you just block for me, and I'm just going to stand here and listen to my music. But if it does get too intense, like one time we went to see it was me and my dad and my sister and a friend of ours from college. We went to go see Chevelle, and we saw him in Charlotte at Amos' South End, and we were standing perfectly for them. We were in the middle, not too far back, but not too far close. It was great. And then they started playing, and people started doing what they do in front of us, like right in front of us. It broke out right in front of us, and like my dad was doing the blocking thing, and people were coming up to him and being like, "Lift me up," and Dad's like, "Go away." And
because once you do one, you're gonna keep getting them.
Yeah, it got so crazy that we were like, we can't enjoy the set anymore, so we had to move. And it wasn't a great spot after that, but we had to move. And that's not to say that it's somewhat our fault, but somewhat not, because obviously the pit opens up where it opens up, and so you have to move if you don't want to be there. But it's also like, dang, I was there first, and you're making me move.
So I do want to transition into our favorite shows that we've been to, and I don't know which side of this transition to put this anecdote in, but I just had another flashback to the time that I saw Say Anything in 2011, and I have a vivid memory of this dude. It was like a push pit. People weren't like getting violent, but the crowd was moving around, and this skinny, scrawny looking dude was picking people up, unsuspecting people, and throwing them into the crowd and just yelling, "Hunger Games! Hunger Games!" at a Say Anything concert. So it's not like it was like metal.
Like honestly, that kind of tracks, like in like a really weird way. Like, yeah, all right.
If you're that dude that went to see Say Anything at that theater that is now called the PlayStation Theater near Times Square in 2011, and you were throwing people in the crowd and shouting Hunger Games, I would love to have that story confirmed so I don't sound like I'm insane.
We would love to have you on the podcast,
sir. Yeah, we'll bring you on. You sound like you know what you're doing at shows.
Where is he now? The search.
When going to shows, like, do you guys feel like you like, because I mean, I go to so many different size shows, like that sometimes I do like being in like full stadium.
It depends.
Shows. Like sometimes
it depends what the artist is.
Who?
100%, because transitioning, we also wanted to talk about the favorite shows that we've been to, and a band that I've actually seen a lot of times with my dad is The Who, and that's the kind of band that like obviously you want to see in a, not that you have any other option than seeing them in a stadium, but like that kind of band at a stadium show, 100%. Seeing My Chemical Romance at a stadium show, while I'm never going to pass that opportunity, it's still not the ideal setting for that kind of music for me. Does that make sense?
What are we considering a stadium?
Or like arena, like Madison Square Garden, or like.
I mean, like
okay, like I've seen My Chemical Romance at Madison Square Garden in the TD, and there was a place up in Maine that I went to at one point, somewhere in New Hampshire. The DCU Center So like I've seen them at places like that hasn't, it's been an incredible experience, but like would I rather see them at like the Roxy? Yeah, you know. I went to EDC Las Vegas last year in May, and that was at the racetrack out there. So think like gigantic 5 mile loop thing, and it's the entire track. It's the entire place, right? The EDC is. So you end up walking about like 25,000 steps or something insane, right? Every night for 3 days, 4 days. And it's from 10 p.m. until 4 a.m. Sometimes it goes until 5, and then they have like sunrise sets. So then you're partying until like 8 a.m., 9 a.m. So it's like a full 12 hours of music, right? If you can
I'm in
make
bed.
it that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that,
Yeah.
I think that's like,
I mean, I'm definitely having insomnia, but I ain't at a
Right, so,
festival.
like,
Insomnia.
it was an overwhelm. I have never been so overwhelmed at a show ever. And given I was alone at EDC Las Vegas, but it was just so incredibly overwhelming, and there was so much happening, and there was so much stimulation, like as far as the lights and like the music and the amount of people and the totems, and like everything. And when you're sober like I am, I just was like, I cannot imagine what everyone else is going through right now.
Festivals like can just be a hit or miss. But I can't imagine like when we were young in October, Brandon was like, and that was just one day. He's like, how have we done like 3-day festivals? He's like,
Yeah.
I'm exhausted right now. Just one day. And I'm like, no, like we could do it. He was like, no, I think we're getting too old to do like 3 full days of this.
And
like,
that's like staying in a hotel and like, not camping and stuff.
Yeah, like not like we're not camping, we're not like doing. I mean, we were in Vegas, so we were staying up super
We were
late,
partying and being out, and we were exhausting
we were being out.
ourselves.
So I think like also it's like we were at emo night at the club till
Yeah, it
freaking
was
like
late.
2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then we're like waking up and getting ready and going to the festival. So it probably wasn't the best combination, but 3-day festivals, like now I just think of it, I'm like, wow. Not to mention it's like I feel like I've just gotten to the age where I'm like, if I want to see that artist, I mean, like festivals are fun to see a whole bunch of people, but it's like I'd rather just go see like that artist like in a venue that's smaller and not
Right.
I also have a hot take in that,
that.
like, I went to I went to a lot of festivals last year. Like, I think I went to like 6 or 7, and that is not an exaggeration. Like, it was a lot of festivals. And I went to Bonnaroo, and I think that was in June. And that was like a camping festival, right? And it's blazing hot. It's June. You're out there watching music from 11 a.m. until midnight. Like, it was, I mean, that's a lot. And I don't think that festivals should be in the summer at this point, because it just gets so hot, and there's so many things that could go wrong just from like a health perspective on that. And you have people camping without easy access to water all the time. I mean, given it's a lot better than it was when, we were going to Warped Tour back in like 2007, but it still stands. Like it's a hard time to put a festival. And like I was at another festival last year too that was in the middle of the summer in Texas, and I was like, it is so hot right now in this stadium. Like, I don't know how people are doing it. I genuinely don't.
Then you can't like enjoy the music. You can't like get in the crowd. So what's the point? I guess to see a bunch of people, but I'd rather do like
and all the festivals are always in the summer too. Like
I don't
there's
get it.
there's not many. Like all of them are in the summertime.
Yeah, unless they're in California, then
I guess it makes sense
spring,
since like
fall,
their
but-
prime demographic is in school. But
Right.
I honestly don't have much experience with full-fledged festivals beyond, like Warped Tour, and that is different. But it sounds like a lot. It sounds like something that I probably wouldn't have fun at if I wasn't working at it,
Yeah, I've never done the camping, like even at Coachella and stuff. that's not my vibe to go have, timed showers and all that. So I remember one year, one of the showers in the campgrounds, like generator caught on fire too, like the trailer of showers. So that was like a whole thing. So I was like, see, I'd rather, go back to the hotel and shower and sleep and like not deal with that, especially because you're like saying how hot it is.
It was it was 109 at Bonnaroo at one point.
It's in the desert, so like it gets cold at night. It's cold. Like the temperature drops. It's just because it's in California, the desert, like it goes down. So like, that makes a difference of like why I wouldn't camp either. I'd be freezing my butt off.
EDC
but
too, though, like it's like so hot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Day, it was like 105 at one point. And everyone's like, it's a dry heat, and it's like, no, it's not. It's 105 degrees. You cannot discount that like at all. And then at night it's like 52, and that doesn't sound that cold when it's like middle of spring, but right now, no.
Plus, at like Coachella and EDC and all that stuff, people put a lot of effort into their appearance and what they're wearing and costumes and stuff like that. How the hell are you camping and doing that?
In conclusion, you have some
okay, so like
bitches
that was
here,
me. That was like my thing at EDC, right? Like I'm like all dressed up and shit, and then I gotta find the one that I was at Lost Lands.
But then
and
the
I was
cold.
Goes down,
I
was
cold.
very cold. Let me find the EDC, the other one.
Yeah, I'm definitely not the type to dress up. Like band t-shirt and jeans, shorts, whatever. I'm good.
See,
like I have chaps on and a whole butterfly outfit. Like
again,
I got the chaps.
Bringing it back. Yeah. On tour, I'm dressed for comfort and speed. Sometimes I'll have time to do my makeup. Sometimes I won't. Tour is very different. When I go to like one-off shows that I'm like going to as a fan, I'll like do my makeup nice. I'll probably wear something a little more risque just to be comfortable and also feel like I look good. But other than that, I'm not putting on like mechanical wings or anything of that nature.
What you see here is what you get at concerts. Yeah,
it's what you get. The mechanical wings did not last long.
Yeah, festival culture is like
crazy.
Can be a whole discourse with it.
I did just want to mention, just in
goes
passing, too, the difference between like EDM shows and like metalcore rock shows like that, because I would actually say that the EDM community, albeit they do have issues within themselves, is one of the most caring, amazing communities that you will experience. Like if someone is having issues or like they think that someone's overheating or like they're having an episode or something, they are the first people to be like, what do you need? Are you okay? Do you need me to go get a medic? Like they are so quick to do that. And I think that's really incredible. And I wish that our part of the scene would be better about checking in on people and making sure that us as a community were one rather than separated by, whatever you want to separate people by.
Right. And I think there are shows that are good about that. I'm not saying, I don't think it's not all bad, but seeing stuff like with this new crowd of fans that came up over the pandemic and, don't really get how things work, you got to look out for each other because we're going to lose, the camaraderie of everything.
And that's what music's about. Community.
That's
okay. We're all in this together.
The delay is making it so bad. Anyway, we're to wrap up this discussion about live shows and etiquette and safety. We're all going to talk about one notable show that we've been to, which is proving difficult for some of us, but we have to put a limit on ourselves or else we're going to go on for another hour. So
forever.
I'll go first since I'm the one talking. I wanted to bring up the time that I saw My Chemical Romance open for Bon Jovi at the Prudential Center.
Crazy times.
Yeah, it was
insane.
When the Prudential Center opened, Bon Jovi did a run of 10 shows with younger, popular New Jersey bands opening for him, if memory serves me right. And I went
So
to...
it was a Jersey thing.
It was a Jersey thing, yes. And it was the first time I had ever seen My Chemical Romance. And my mom, she's a Bon Jovi girl, or at least she was. That was her obsessum. That was her like number one obsession band when she was younger. So it was the perfect situation. It was the perfect scenario for us to go bond and go see My Chemical Romance and Bon Jovi. And I have a really vivid memory of showing up while they were already playing, and the arena was still filling up. So there weren't people around the stage. Obviously, they weren't letting people go to the pit, but there weren't people in the seats around the stage. So I went down there and I went down there and stood next to this girl with really big faux dread pigtails. And they're playing I'm Not Okay, and I am immediately sobbing uncontrollably. It was the most out of control I have ever felt of my own body. I just couldn't help it. I was 13, freaking the fuck out. And this girl, bless her heart, next to me was like, "Oh, is it your first time?" And I was just like, and it was very wholesome. And I made a birthday card for Frank Iero that I made the security guard hand to him while he was coming off stage. And core memory.
Guys, I love Fangirl Frill House. Like,
yeah, she existed for a little bit.
Fangirl over here. Yeah.
The fangirl to music industry professional pipeline is a real thing.
It's real. It's very real.
Because we are a determined species. And there aren't a lot of bands that I freak out over now, but back in the day, I would lose my mind. And then Bon Jovi played, and Bon Jovi is great, but I was 13 and didn't really care about Bon Jovi, so I don't really remember that part.
Yeah.
So that's my one concert.
Makes sense.
Casey,
go next.
Go ahead, Casey.
Go for it,
This is a very, very hard choice, but I'm going to go with my very first show ever, which was when I was 9 years old. It was the Black Cloud and Underdogs tour, Fall Out Boy from First to Last, Hawthorne Heights, and I think All American Rejects.
Did you just say 9 years old?
I was 9 years old. It was April 19th, 2006.
Oh, wow, you know the date and everything.
Oh, yes. I had a wristband that I wore the rest of that summer at Girl Scout camp,
of course.
And I left it on. It was From First to Last with Sonny Moore, Hawthorne Heights with Casey Calvert, like the whole thing. I had to get carried out of the crowd during Fall Out Boy because I was dehydrated and 9 years old in the pit. And so I watched them. I'm sure they were ending with Saturday. And I remember watching them as I'm like in the wheelchair, just like at the outside of the venue, just like crying that I'm missing their last song. My first show ever. But it changed my life, and I've seen them like 12 times or something. And
but no, I got dehydrated again.
I think there might have been one other time. Actually, well, I saw Justin McCartney and Simple Plan at the Illinois State Fair, and I had to get taken out because I was dehydrated.
Jesus, Casey.
Story.
Drink more water, Casey.
I got water now. I got my water. Yeah.
Thrill House. So Thrill House is making the personalized cards fangirl. Casey is the fainting fangirl.
I'm the dying fangirl at 9 years old. Yeah.
That's a great first concert ever to go to. Oh my god.
Yeah,
it's like
it was the best. I peaked for sure.
So Casey's first concert was a Fall Out Boy show, and now she works in tour marketing, and it's a really big full circle thing. I'm proud of her. She worked on the marketing team for this Fall Out Boy tour that just broke the internet in the past couple months. So, Casey, if you want to talk about that.
Casey!
Thanks, guys. Oh my god, I'm gonna cry again. Yeah, I literally, when we found out about this tour, we were on a call with the person who did the the full tour marketing. I do the digital side, but he leads the full tour marketing. And like all my coworkers know that like this is my band. I told them if we get a Fall Out Boy tour, like I need it, it's mine, and I'm gonna freak out. And he told us that this is coming down, having no idea. I just immediately got red, started crying. I had to go off camera. I was like, this is the worst place to do it. But yeah, since then, like, I can't believe that I got to do that. I still don't believe it. I found out about their secret show ahead of time, which was like, again, another hyperventilating, oh my God, is this happening to me moment. That was unreal. And yeah, I've definitely peaked for sure. If not from the first show, then from this job. But it was the best. I love them. So
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
So exciting.
and now we have her on our podcast.
Fangirl music.
Now I'm here.
Pipeline.
All right.
Oh, that's awesome. I can go next.
Yeah.
I had a thought, but then I lost my
I had a thought. Now it's gone.
fluttered away.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's gone. So I mean, as all of us, we've been to so many freaking shows. And there's a lot that I say like are really good people that I love seeing. Like I love seeing Jimmy Eat World. Every time I see Jimmy Eat World, like they don't have to do anything razzle dazzle. I just think they're amazing live. You know, artists like that. But one of like the notable shows I will say is Bad Flowers. Okay, I'm Sick release show, like album release show. It was at the El Rey Theater in LA the day that they released the album, and it was just like a vibe. Like I invited one of my friends because I had just bought 2 tickets when it got announced, like way before, and I brought a friend. She had never heard of them. We're sitting there, we're listening, and she literally in the middle of the set just looks at me and goes, I think you just made me fall in love with a band. And I was like, that right there is like the best compliment I've ever got in my life. And second, why, like, I'm just like, this is why live music's important. Like she had never listened to a single song, and we're at their release show, and she's just like, this is awesome. And like she's like pretty into music too, so it was just really cool. They're just great live, and their lead singer Josh is just a phenomenal frontman. So good time.
Haley.
Okay, so for me it was in, I think it was either late 2013, early 2014, down in Raleigh. I was in college at UNC Chapel Hill, and me and my sister and my dad, he came down and we went to a We Came as Romans show. And it was, the opener was Danger Kids, and then Silverstein, and then We Came as Romans. And that show, why I'm picking that show was because not only were the bands incredible, but the crowd was incredible. I think we forget sometimes just how important a good crowd is to a good show. And I walked out of that show thinking, I've never seen a concert where the crowd was up for every single band. And I mean, they did great. I mean, it was a wonderful show. And it was one of those shows that I think I go into concerts now thinking, I hope it's like this. I hope the crowd is like this. I feel so bad when the crowd is not into the opening bands and things, but I think that that'll be the marker where I'm like, that's a good show if the crowd is into it like that one was. Also, side note, Andrew, my now husband, was at that show on the same. We were at the Lincoln, so
That's
we were like
so wild
on the same thing. He was just over a little bit. Afterwards we found out because he was showing me video from that show, but like literally we just didn't meet each other. Like a couple months later we met each other at a different concert. But it's so strange.
Meant to be.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. That's a good marker to be like, I want every audience to be like that.
I want to say it this time. Bring us home, E.
Yeah.
So I think I have a hard time with this as well, much like we all have. I've just been to so many, and I have really core memories from Bamboozle of 2012, but I'm going to put that aside as a whole.
As do I.
And yeah, and so I'm going to go with more recent ones that I've been to. So I'm going to go with Ice Nine Kills, much like my shirt. But I think I saw Ice Nine Kills for the first time last year live, and I was like, whoa, like they put on a show. Like it's theatrical, the music's good, the vocals are good, the crowd is really, really into it. I've never been to a show where it's been that theatrical before in this genre. And I was like, oh, am I into this? I think I'm into this. It was so good. And I loved like I just love their music in general because I like horror movies and stuff too. So I was like, oh, they're like reenacting some of these horror. Okay, I see y'all. So I'm gonna say Ice Nine Kills for more recent ones.
I love like the differencing of like I said, like Jimmy Eat World. Like I'm like they don't have to do all that, and I still will like go every time I can see them because I think they're just amazing live. But I do love shows like that where it's like all guns ablazing, like bring out everything, bring out the.
I've seen them a few more times since then now, and I'm never not entertained. Like they are so good. So I look forward to seeing them more in the future.
I've never seen them. They've been on like top of my list too.
Yeah, definitely go. It's totally worth it.
Y'all ready?
Okay, well, on that note too, do you all want to talk about your favorite songs of the week?
Doing the thing.
Sure.
I'm gonna go first because I just want to plug my shirt really quick. I'm wearing a goddamn NSYNC metal Baphomet shirt. So
it's tearing up my is that Satan? Is that some
when I'm
kind of
with you, but when we are apart, I feel it too.
Yes, that is my song of the week. Is "Tearing Up My Heart" by NSYNC, and I got this shirt from No Sleep Ideas on TikTok, and it's my favorite thing in the world. If you're listening to this and not watching, I'm wearing an NSYNC black metal T-shirt. So that's my song.
That's amazing.
And Thrill House found
Better
it
than it sounds.
on TikTok, right? The creator.
Yeah, the creator. I don't think they're on Instagram.
We'll drop their TikTok though. If anybody else is into buying, we'll plug them.
Black metal and sing
do a little shout out.
Yeah, totally. But Haley, go for it.
I would say that my song of the week is going to be "Break the Cycle" by For Today, R.I.P. For Today.
R.I.P.
I just happened to listen to it the other day, and I was like, oh, I forgot how good this song is. So that's my song of the week.
Kaci.
In honor of their tour announcing today for this album, I did not work on it, but I'm going to go with Bloom by Between the Buried and Me because I am so fucking excited to see them.
Yes, I saw you post that.
Courtney.
And then I'm going to go with my t-shirt too because I'm wearing a Bearings t-shirt and they have their new song Scenery that just dropped the other day that I've been playing on repeat. So shout out Bearings. Shout out to the black tea to band teas going on
all around today.
Bring us home, E.
And mine's the most embarrassing too. So, has anyone else seen "Hey Mickey" by Baby Tate? Like the music video.
I haven't seen the music video.
Oh my god!
I just know the clip
But you know
from
the
TikTok.
song?
Yeah.
Oh my god. I saw the video and I was laughing hysterically, and it's in homage to the original "Hey Mickey" song, and I was like, I'm losing my mind. And so now here we are, me just be like, "Hey Mickey," and I'm like,
Nice. This nice eclectic playlist that we're hearing.
It's very eclectic. It's all over the place.
He's always thrown in like the
wild card.
Outlier. Wild card.
You know what? I love being the wild card. If that's what I'm going to be known for, I'm happy about it.
Before we truly bring it home, I just want to mention that if you're going to be in Raleigh on St. Patrick's Day, Revival Recordings and Get Sad Y'all are putting on a Reviving Raleigh. It's going to be a concert at the Poorhouse with a lot of good music. Soulwalkers playing and some other bands that are escaping.
Cool.
That are really good.
No, sorry. It's going to be Soulwalker, the Violet, Exploit, and All My Circuits.
And the School of Rock class, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Wake Forest School of Rock.
Wake Forest School of Rock. Cool. Good music, probably beer. Some of us will be there. But yeah.
Yeah. So come down and have a good time.
Good talk,
all
y'all.
right, well, thank you. I know. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode. On the episode 5 after this, we are going to have Liz from Gold Steps joining us. So that's going to be exciting. And talking with her. And so hopefully you guys are excited. If you have any questions that you want to ask her, drop them in the comments and we can do that when we have her on. So, and yeah, I think that's all. But
thank you, Kaci, for coming out tonight. It was
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Casey.
Hell yeah.
Casey gotta be thrown into the madness.
Isn't it Women's History Month or International Women's Month or
International Women's Month
Day.
and yes, so shout out to us.
Yeah.
Girl power.
Girl boss.
All right, thank you, and tune in next time. Bye.
Right.
That's showbiz, baby. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast. New episodes are released every other Monday.